Very funny man coming to the stage. We love this guy. A nice hand for Wade Jude. Come on, give him a hand, Wade Jude.
Thank you. Good evening. People tell me I look like a cross between Gotti Jr. and George Costanza. But actually, I get my looks from my father. I also inherited the coronary artery disease, the hypertension, and the diabetes. But at least I lucked out and I got the height gene. I live in Belmont now, but I grew up in a really tough Italian neighborhood in Brooklyn. It was so Italian that the ice cream truck's music played the theme from The Godfather. And it was such a tough neighborhood that, you know, when you go into a neighborhood, the first sign that you would see when you drove into this neighborhood read, "Stay out, stay alive." And my father was a tough Italian, Sicilian wise guy, and he went to the School of Hard Knocks. He got his master's degree in craps and his PhD in breaking kneecaps. And he was really strict. If you weren't at the dinner table at exactly 6 o'clock, he would fire one warning shot. And if you weren't at the dinner table at 6:01, he would send a tough guy named Rocco. He was a hard worker, but I hated when he took his work home with him. Like the time he pulled into the driveway, and we could still hear a guy screaming in the trunk. You guys like these psychic mediums? My wife dragged me to one last week, and I'm not a believer, but as soon as we got there, it changed right away, because the psychic came right up to me, and he said to me, "You have a dead dick." It wasn't really psychic. He just holding my dick in his hand. My wife and I, we just recently celebrated a 20-year wedding anniversary. And like any married couple, we've had our ups and our downs, so we've gone into some therapy, and sitting with my wife, and the therapist starts and he looks at me and he says, "Wayne, I want you to start by telling me something you and your wife both have in common." And I look at him and I said, "Well, we both don't suck cock." Could be the reason why we're here. And my mother is no better. She's a real tough, overprotected mother. She really wanted to have a daughter, and after having 3 sons, I was born, but that never stopped her from dressing me as a girl. It got really out of hand when she started buying me tampons. And she was good. I remember when I asked her when I was 7 years old if she could buy me a bicycle, and she went out and she bought me the best one money could buy, and I loved it. I pedaled that, and I pedaled it, and I pedaled it, but it never went anywhere. It was a stationary bike. Well, my wife, my mother, she was an okay parent, but she had some wonderful qualities, but she was a dismal parent, that if Ben Franklin had my mother, we would not have electricity. Picture Ben Franklin, "Where you going with the kite and the key and the ring and the lightning? Go inside with your bifocals." We would still be under British rule if Paul Revere had my mother. Picture him running to the barn to alert the colonists that the British are coming, opens up the barn door to get his horse, and mother's standing there. "You're not going anywhere on a night like this. Don't you see there's a chill in the air? You'll catch cold. You want to catch that virus?" Napoleon, she would erect him. "You want to take over France? Look at you. You can't even get on the horse, you midget." Even the father of our country, George Washington, she would have looked at him and said, "George, with that powdered wig, you look like a Zeppeli." I know what my father would have said to George Washington. He would have said, "Leave the axe, take the cherry tree." My grandmother was evil too. I remember when she took me to the park to walk around, she would encourage me to talk to strangers. When I had a cough, she would put tape over my mouth. But I could always remember she always smelled good. Her favorite perfume was ragu. Every time she wore it, they thought she was bleeding from her neck. Got the elections coming up. I remember when I first registered to vote, and I went up to my father and I said, Dad, I said, our family, are we Republican or Democrat? He looked at me and he said, we're Gambino. My father never voted for any presidential election at all. The last time he voted, he was the deciding vote on whether Three Fingers Louie would get whacked. And my father never showed us any affection, never patted us on the back. On the rare occasion when he was in a good mood, he would let us kiss his ring. Kiss his ring. And
he's like a John Consumer's too.
he was a degenerate card player, and he was horrible at it. You ever see a guy who lose $2,500 playing cards, and he's playing solitaire? There was one time in high school when my parents got called up to my high school in an emergency. They called my mother and father up, strict Catholic high school. They're sitting there, my father's sitting there with the tie, my mother, the doctor of education, the principal comes walking in and says to my parents, we caught your son and a female student in a compromising position. My father says, Minky, thank God. I thought you called me up here to tell me he joined the chorus. No, sir, we called you up here to tell you that we caught your son and a female student having relations under the bleachers. Do you condone this type of action? My father looks at us confused and says, sure, I always tell my son to use a condone. What kind of school is this? You don't teach safe sex. But I make fun of the Italians, but I'm proud to be Italian. My grandfather came to this country in 1903 through Ellis Island, and he came in with his brothers, and they migrated all over this great country. I had my great uncle Vito. He had his own island on the west coast, Alcatraz. My other great uncle, he had a nice little place in Kansas, in Leavenworth. And my Aunt Rosie stayed local in Sing Sing. I had an uncle, believe it or not, who was an insult comic back in the 20s and 30s. And he actually performed for Al Capone. You figure one little comment about not paying your taxes, and we haven't heard from him since. That's my time. Thank you.
Jude! Wow, that was a very funny Jewish comedian.